Hello and welcome to the Literary Lair. Today I'm feeling a little nostalgic, so we're going to take a look at a book from my childhood, Captain Underpants. If there was a book series that I'd say left a lasting impression on my 7-year-old brain, it would be this one. The books are insanely creative, and they're what we should be giving kids because of how well written they are. The main characters are written like kids and not like tiny adults, and the villains are diverse and interesting with more motivation than evil for the sake of evil. Sure, sometimes the motivation was kinda silly, but hey, they were funny, and I loved these books. I mean, the condition of this one has to give that away. It's so beat up because of being shoved in my backpack or in my desk at school, and being read over and over. The pages are falling out due to both age and overuse. Anyway, I've been rambling about it, and I haven't even started the review yet. But before that, I want to give some background. Captain Underpants was written by Dave Pilkey, who created the character in 2nd grade while sitting in the hallway due to being punished for causing trouble in class. This guy made a best-selling children's book series about a character he created as a kid. This guy is awesome. Anyway, to make a long story short, let's get to the review. The cover is very well put together. It's simple, but it works for the purpose it serves. It has Captain Underpants front and center on top of a building that George and Harold, our protagonists, are hanging off of. The title says, The Adventures of Captain Underpants, the first epic novel by Dave Pilkey, and promises action, thrills, and laughs. Let's see if it delivers on that and get to the story. The book opens up by introducing us to our protagonists, George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top, and Harold is the one on the right with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that now. George and Harold are two elementary school kids with exactly the sense of humor you'd expect. They cause trouble at their school, but they're okay kids. The two of them write comic books in their spare time and sell them at school, their favorite of their comic book heroes being Captain Underpants, because most superheroes look like they fly around in their underwear, but Captain Underpants actually flies around in his underwear. The logic is pretty sound to me. And now we get to read one of their comics, which is a staple of all the Captain Underpants books. The gist of the comic is that in an age where all the famous superheroes got old, a new hero emerged, Captain Underpants, and he saves people. It's a pretty creative premise for elementary school kids. Hell, some of the characters I created in high school were less creative than this. After the comic, we're introduced to mean old Mr. Krupp. Mean Mr. Krupp sleeps in the park, shaves in the dark, trying to save paper. I hear it's going to be played by Frankie Howard in the movie. Mr. Krupp is probably the worst person ever to be principal of an elementary school, as he hates laughter, singing,
she even hates children.
And the two children he hates most of all are George and Harold. He hates everything about them, including their comics, and wants to get them punished somehow.
Or worse, expelled.
I wasn't kidding about how he's not suited to be the principal of an elementary school. He has a sign on his desk that says, "Kneel here." I guess that means he'll be played by Terrence Stamp in the movie then. George and Harold decide to play a prank on the school's football team and marching band before a big game by putting pepper in the cheerleaders' pom-poms, putting bubble bath in the marching band's instruments, filling the game ball with helium, and replacing the team's muscle lotion with itching cream, among other things, leading to them losing the game. The boys covered their tracks pretty well, except for the fact that there was a camera recording everything they did, which Mr. Krupp has the tape from. Mr. Krupp reads off their rap sheet of things they did but left no evidence behind, like putting dissected frogs in the Jell-O, making it snow in the cafeteria, and rigging the loudspeakers to blast Weird Al for 6 hours straight. The first two were bad, but I don't see why he's so angry about the third one. Weird Al is awesome. Mr. Krupp is excited that he finally has proof and he's gonna milk it for all that it's worth. He tells George and Harold that if they don't follow a list of his demands exactly, he'll send a copy of the tape to the school's football team, who will most certainly kill them because their stunt cost them the game. And Mr. Krupp begins to extort them. Seriously, it's not only stuff like they can't play jokes, laugh, or smile. They have to go to his house and wash his car, along with catering to his every whim and letting him assign them extra homework. I know Mr. Krupp is the bad guy, but even as a kid I knew this was a little messed up. Obviously, the kids get fed up with it and decide to turn the tides in their favor, by ordering a hypnosis ring from the back of a comic book. Unfortunately, that means they have to endure this torture for 4 to 6 weeks, waiting for it to arrive. The ring arrives, and they use the hypnosis ring on Mr. Krupp and start messing around, and they replace the surveillance tape with a tape of George's younger sister's favorite show. Then they go and rifle through Mr. Krupp's drawer of confiscated stuff, which contains everything Mr. Krupp had taken from them over the years, including all of their Captain Underpants comics. They spend the morning reading their comics and screwing around with Mr. Krupp, making him act like a chicken and a monkey before turning him into Captain Underpants. They both start laughing uncontrollably at the sight, and when they regain their composure, Mr. Krupp, or rather Captain Underpants, has hopped out the window and was running off of the school grounds. They go back to the drawer and grab a bunch of stuff and go after Captain Underpants, because they realize that he could get himself killed since he's just a fat guy in his underwear and has no actual powers. They find him attempting to stop a bank robbery, which he does, because the robbers fall to the ground laughing at him. When the cops show up, the robbers are arrested along with Captain Underpants for what I can only assume would be a lewdness charge. George and Harold swoop in to help him escape and accidentally run into 2 robots stealing a giant diamond, which Captain Underpants tries to stop, causing them to of course get embroiled in a chase with the robot's van, where a kid tries to tell his mother what's going on only for her to dismiss it as ridiculous. Said mother is reading a tabloid paper. This becomes a staple in the series, appearing in every book that I've read of it. When the robots park their van, they go into a warehouse to meet with their master, Dr. Diaper, a short, bald guy wearing a diaper. Dr. Diaper wants to, you guessed it, take over the world.
Of course!
I haven't gotten to use that clip in a while. Anyway, he unveils the Lasermatic 2000, which will blow up the moon and send chunks crashing down onto every major city in the world. But he doesn't address the greater implications, like what blowing up the moon would do to the tides, like flooding the entire Earth that he plans to rule over.
But that could just be orbital wobble.
George and Harold stop him the only way they know how, by slingshotting a piece of fake dog poop near Dr. Diaper so he thinks he pooped himself, and he'll go to the bathroom to clean up. That leaves the two of them having to destroy the robots themselves. And now is the single greatest part of the book. Not only does it have a funny warning before the fight scene, but it features Fliporama, which basically turns the next few pages into a flip book, and it's awesome. It works by taking your hand and holding down the corner of one page down and using your other hand to flip the page up so that you'll see a little animated scene. And it's awesome. It adds a whole other dimension to a fight scene that could have just been still images. And that becomes another staple of the series, appearing in all the other books after this. They defeat the robots, and they try to figure out how to stop the Lasermatic 2000 when Captain Underpants finds a self-destruct lever and pulls it. Did Dr. Diaper go to the Yzma School of Evil?
Why do we even have that lever?
Anyway, Dr. Diaper pulls a ray gun on them, and Captain Underpants slings his underwear at Dr. Diaper's head to incapacitate him. They run out, and George and Harold ask him where he got an extra pair of underwear. He asks them what extra pair as he walks out with a barrel around his body that he just found somewhere, I guess. I shouldn't be applying logic to a book about a guy who fights evil in only his underwear, should I? They start to escape before the Lasermatic 2000 explodes, and to make a long story short, they get away. They leave Dr. Diaper tied up to a lamppost outside the police station and go back to the school, intending to dehypnotize Mr. Krupp. However, they don't remember how, and George misplaced the instructions in all the commotion. George figures that they can solve the problems the way he saw someone do it in a cartoon, and dumps water on Mr. Krupp's head, returning him to normal. However, he's pretty angry about them dumping water on him, and he goes to take the tape to the football team. George finds the instructions, but decides that they'll never use the ring again, and tosses the booklet away, revealing to the reader a classic case of dramatic irony, since the instructions explicitly state that pouring water onto the head of someone who is hypnotized will cause them to revert back to the hypnotic state whenever they hear the sound of finger snapping. The football team enjoyed the video so much that they changed their name to reflect the name of the tape, and George and Harold go back to their old ways of pranking and comic making. But they also have to keep a close eye on their principal, because whenever he hears the sound of fingers snapping, he changes back into Captain Underpants. But I'm sure that won't cause them any trouble. And that was Captain Underpants. Was it good? Yeah, it was silly, but it was written for elementary school kids, so you sort of have to expect that. And it holds up surprisingly well, and I enjoyed it as much as I did as a kid. The story is funny, and it's one of the books that really made me appreciate clever writing back when I was a kid. So, thank you, Dave Pilkey, for being such a huge part of my childhood. And who knows, I might come back to this series one day. Anyway, that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to see more of the Literary Lair, you can hit that subscribe button. And if you have any comments or complaints about the video, you can leave those in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, show it to your friends and share it around the internet. And maybe consider supporting the show on Patreon. See you next time.